Good morning. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lorene. I'm speaking to you from our back porch where we finally have a new privacy fence. And at the end of this video, I will include a tour of the garden, which some of you have been waiting for. So I'll talk about the books first. And today I'm talking about Thomas King. He has 3 books that are they sort of are geared towards children in terms of their illustrations, but their messaging is across ages. And Thomas King is a Canadian author who also has ties to America, or I think if you're on the American side of the border, you would say the inverse, but he's definitely a Canadian presence and author, and absolutely one of my top 5 authors to read. Every time he writes something, I just buy it. And what he has done is created several stories that have to do with Coyote. And this is the first one that he did. Wait a minute, have I got that wrong? 2092. Can't be 1992. All right. Okay, is there a glare on that? No. Okay. A Coyote Columbus story written by Thomas King and illustrated by William Kent Monkman. And what we have got is Coyote, who at the time of the story, all animals and all humans, meaning First Nations people, could speak with animals and back and forth. And so the person who's done the illustration has really played with some of the ideas. That's just, it's pre-contact, but Coyote likes to play baseball, and there's people who like to wear the clothes of settlement, but and then sometimes the animals try to play tricks on Columbus. The story is that Christopher Columbus, shows up looking for India, and so the animals and the First Nations people that are there, like, not interested in really helping, and all Coyote wants to do is play baseball, but Coyote keeps changing the rules, and so people get frustrated with Coyote and abandon the whole situation. And along comes Christopher Columbus with his searching, and they are not interested in playing baseball with Coyote either. And in the end, what happens is their clothes are swapped and tricks are played, and Columbus just kind of loses his mind, and Coyote laughs so much that his nose falls off his face. Some First Nations people are taken back to Europe, and other First Nations people hide in the water and, like, using sticks and stuff, and will try to disguise themselves as animals, the moose in the water swimming and so on, or beaver, and that's how they avoid Christopher Columbus. It's a fairly long story. It's done in prose. I find the characterizations of both the animals and the humans to be just a little bit creepy. I can't say I love the illustrations. There's just something about mouths and teeth, and if they are really dominant, then I don't really see the character. So a lot of the people have sneers or grimaces, and anyways, I find it's funny, like, Christopher Columbus is here, and he's the new route to India, but he's got it upside down. So I can't say that I love the illustrations, but I really enjoy the story. I think that it's just a fascinating version of First Contact, and also Coyote and First Nations people coming to grips with their communication skills, because you can't trust Coyote, you can't trust him at all. The next one that he wrote is A Coyote Solstice Tale by Thomas King, pictures by Gary Clement. Now this one is a completely different kind of approach. I mean, the animals everybody just has a slightly kinder kind of a look on their face, but they're still just a little bit, googly. So Coyote I'm sorry, what happens? Okay, yeah, Coyote is getting ready for Christmas. Solstice, I'm sorry, not Christmas, solstice. And he goes looking for them, and when he comes back, he finds a little girl knocking on his door. And she wants to come and celebrate the solstice with him too. But he's like, wait a minute, we don't talk to people anymore, like that's been severed, so what's going on here? And she's got sticks in her hair and a rubber nose on her nose, and she wants to be a reindeer. And so Coyote invites her in. And then his animal friends show up, and the reindeer girl says, I've come to find friendship and goodwill and peace. And she curled up in front of the fire, and she wrapped herself up in a fleece. So there are some sections that have this nice little rhyming rhythm, and then there's other parts that don't. You have to, he plays with the language a little bit. You have to look a little bit for the rhyme, and it's not always there. I got a kick out of this picture where the animals have come with their favorite treats for. So someone's come with gummy bears, and I think that's so funny. So again, the artist is playing along with the story. They're really intertwining their concept with what the flavor or the mood or the energy that Thomas King has in the story. So they try to bring the girl back to where she belongs, and they discover a mall. That's where she comes from, and she's saying, well, you don't want to go there. That's not, that's why I left. I came to find you guys. And the inside of the mall is just crazy. And so the animals are thinking, maybe, do we really want to go in there or not? They're kind of intrigued. Coyote decides that he's going to buy, he sees everybody piling things in the carts, and he's like, oh, I can do that. So he piles everything in the cart. Of course, he hasn't got any money to pay for it, so there's a little problem at the end of the cashier. And so they end up going back to Coyote's home to finally celebrate, and Coyote's exhausted. And the other animals help to make up a nice little dinner. And the stories were told. And I guess Coyote's having some reminiscence at the end of it, just thinking about the kind of lesson that he's learned from having interacted with Reindeer Girl. But in typical Thomas King fashion, he likes to throw a little kick at the can at the last page, and he's thinking, can you really buy peace and goodwill at the mall? And, he's thinking, But then at the end, Thomas King says, probably, thought Coyote, as he smiled and closed his eyes, that mall had everything. So this one was written in 2009, and the earlier one was 1992. But this is the book that got me onto the journey of Coyote, and it was written in 2017, and also, by Thomas King. Now, who did the illustrations? Brian Eggenschwiller. Now, he's not mentioned on the cover, which is kind of odd. Anyways, Brian Eggenschwiller has done a lot of illustration for different types of authors, and he's a Canadian illustrator. And this one is more in the structure of two short stories. And we have got some very interesting black and white, and I find these are my favorite of the illustrations, and I think partly because the other ones, the first one, the colors are very strident. The second one, they're a little calmer, and this one is more the sort of, if you were thinking about a story being told around the fireplace or around the kitchen table or something, you wouldn't have those flashing images in your head. You'd be kind of just pondering things. And so this is just a little more open to interpretation for the listener. So in the first story, Old Woman and all the animals at sunset would go and sing to the moon so that the moon would rise. And they encourage Coyote to... We're having a lot of helicopters go over today. The other day it seemed like there were 3 or 4 over our house. Anyway, sorry about that. Old Woman and the animals discourage Coyote from singing because he's just dreadful, just dreadful. And what Coyote decides to do is sing when no one, despite everybody's discouragement. So he sings, and the moon is like, oh, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. It goes down to the bottom of the pond. And first, old woman is trying to figure out, like, what are we going to do? How are we going to solve this? We want moon, because the night is pitch dark. Everybody's stumbling around and hurting themselves and falling off cliffs. And eventually, Coyote does fall off a cliff and end up at the bottom of the pond, where discovers that's where the moon has gone. And he's playing chess with one of the fish. And so old woman has to figure out how to get the moon to come out of the pond, because having a good time playing chess. So they eventually get Coyote to go in the water, and the water, it's just so noisy that the moon leaves the pond, but then goes a little bit further away, and the light from the moon is a little dimmer. So it's also it's sweet, it's comical, it's really a lovely interpretation of the moon and the relationship to Earth and so on. There was the second story is also hilarious in that Coyote is quite proud of his suit of furs and talks to Raven and says, no, I think my suit is pretty darn good. And Raven's like, no, it's okay, which gets Coyote thinking, maybe it's not quite so okay. And along comes Bear, takes off his suit, and in her underpants goes into the pond and starts to bathe. And Coyote's, I think I'll take that suit. And so does, really admires himself in the bear suit, but prefers his own, so puts it in the closet. Bear comes out of the water, and Raven says, oh, I don't know what happened to your suit, but if you go over to the edge of the clearing, you'll find that there's this rope, and the people there put their clothes on the clothesline because they're finished with them. They don't want them anymore. They're put there for people like you who've lost their suits, so you can take one. And so Bear goes over and helps herself to a suit. It doesn't fit, and it looks terrible. And this goes down the line with, till Coyote has just way too many suits from other animals, turtle and moose, and can't fit anything more in the closet. So Raven says, well, why don't you have a garage sale? Now, what's been happening is, of course, all the clothes for humans have disappeared, and Raven tells them, why don't you go to Coyote's garage sale? So the animals are going to the garage sale to see if they can find their suits back, and the humans are going to see if they can get their clothes back. And of course, Coyote doesn't know that Raven's been pulling all these little pranks behind his back. So Raven, who's also a trickster, is really having a lot of fun. And I won't give away the end of the story, but I really love these three. Now, this was the book that got me going, and I made an assumption that all three would be the same format, and they're not. So when I finally got the other two, in terms of just, having things to covet and pet and love and hug and kiss, I am a little disappointed in that they're not three of the same books. I just made an assumption and I was wrong. But as far as the stories go, I really, really adore them, and continue to recommend Thomas King to pretty much everything that I can't think of anything that he's written that I would say I didn't like. I mean, within the scale, but everything is just really worth getting your hands on. Okay, so for those of you who don't want to hear anything else but books, this is the time to say au revoir. And for those who you would really like to see how the garden turned out, just stick around. I hope all your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now. And this is Missy's new favorite spot. She comes out, checks out all the starlings, which you can hear in the background, and then she'll hop down into that seat, curl up for a nap. She's got a beautiful little spot. We had the privacy fence put in. We share a driveway, and historically this building beside us has had quite a lot of students in the last 15 years, and currently there's a young couple and somebody's brother living on the ground floor that are now the owners. So things have saned up a little bit. But anyways, we decided to go ahead and get a privacy fence, and we had the steps. Steve did that last summer with the kids. We had the steps kind of fixed up, and we had this ramp put in so that when we bring the wood in and out and the snow blowers and stuff, it wasn't a step. So this whole section was all about getting to be older, not tripping over things, having safe work areas and safe access to and from the woodpile. And then this section, well, I mean, once we were in for a penny, we might as well go in for a pound. So we had all the grass dug up, and there were all kinds of drainage problems back here, again with the big storms, that the water would settle, and just the way the subterranean goes here, it's shale. So what can happen is you can get a lot of melt, and just the way the property is graded, it would all eventually work its way back to there. So we had everything leveled. Whoops, sorry, didn't mean to give you dizzies. We had everything leveled away from the property. I mean the house edge. So this is a bit of a ramp as well. Oh, we lost a lot of plants. The gardens got bigger, and as you can see, this bench is starting to rot away. And Missy's out for a little explore. She's getting to know all the new paths. And that's back to the shed, and we've had a patio stones put in there, just, you know, the 2x2 concrete slabs, so that we have a spot for bikes or snow blowers or that kind of out of season stuff. And then this piece didn't work at all this summer. There's a pond in here, fountainy thing, hasn't been turned off at all. Anyways, this is just a little bit of a natural area with mayflowers and Solomon's seals and May-apples and different kinds of ferns, and it's really quite lovely to sit beside in the summer when the water's going. And the other reason that, well, this is a forsythia that's just gone amok, but it blocks the neighbors, and the neighbors have got anywhere up to 4 or 6 cars parked in their backyard. So, oh, the sun is getting too much. So now we have got a pleasant look backwards, although I can't tell because I'm directly in the sun.